JD News Live. Special report. Exclusive coverage. NASA Artemis 2. What is going on? Here is CJ Dukers.
Good evening. This is a CJD News special report. Tonight, we're following one of the most critical phases of the Artemis 2 mission, the go/no-go readiness poll and the upcoming Trans-Lunar injection burn. This is a big moment, and that will guide you through the mission timeline, systems involved, and real-time updates from Mission Control Houston. Whether you're joining us from our streaming platforms or our live broadcast feed, we appreciate you being with us tonight. This is a major moment in the return of our human spaceflight beyond low Earth orbit, and as NASA prepares for the readiness poll. Now, before we move into live operations, let's take a look at how Artemis 2 reached this point, from launch to Earth orbit insertion, to the system checks that have brought the crew to the threshold of the TLI window from NASA.
Good afternoon from the Space Coast of Florida, where 4 astronauts are about to suit up for NASA's boldest test flight in a generation.
Our goal is to pursue the secrets of the universe, to change the world in air and space.
We have a ton of people gathering around the world to watch this history-making moment.
This crew cohesion, we're at the point now where we are ready to go fly.
I've had shivers run up and down my spine a number of times.
This mission is an opportunity for our generation. It's about human history. It's the story of humanity.
The question isn't go or not go. It's are you going to lead or are you going to follow?
This crew could be the first humans to journey around the moon in more than half a century.
The Artemis 2 crew is go for launch. Full send.
Let's go.
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis 2 now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Artemis and Artemis 2 remind us that our greatest chapters are yet to be written. Well done. Go Artemis 2!
Point is the end game. The moon has now become the center, the focus of this mission.
Artemis 2 is the first step in a sustained presence off of planet Earth in deep space. And if we are successful in doing that, I think Artemis 2 becomes just that first little teeny tiny curb that we stepped up on this really long journey.
And this view on your screen, that is Earth in the center of your screen from the Orion spacecraft. Again, a camera mounted aboard the spacecraft's solar array wing, looking back at all of us.
As you just saw on your screen, the recap from NASA. Now, we are currently waiting for them to start the Trans-Lunar injection. About 12 minutes, according to NASA. Let's tune in to the official broadcast. As you see here on screen, we have the control room in Houston. That is where the go/no-go checks will happen, and we will then watch the Trans-Lunar burn occur. This is just the waiting phase now, but they have been doing this all day. Artemis 2 has been rolling for already more than a day, and it is historic. Yesterday's CJD News special report actually was the broadcast 6 hours long.
Integrity, saws are configured for the burn.
As you hear, they're getting ready for the burn.
Copy, sauce.
The calls you hear in Mission Control Houston coming from Capcom NASA astronaut Chris Birch up to the crew aboard Orion. The solar array wings have been configured into the position for the burn. They are moved forward up toward Orion and away from that orbital maneuvering system engine. This protects the solar arrays during the burn, keeps them safe from any loads that may be imparted from the thruster as it fires. Again, coming up on 11 minutes until the time of ignition, and we are standing by for Orion to maneuver into the burn attitude.
As you just heard, about 11 minutes until the injection occurs. We're waiting for the hole to occur. Should be beginning shortly. Artemis 2 is currently doing a journey around the moon, but is currently still in Earth's orbit, and this trans-lunar injection is supposed to make it so that way the rocket Orion
Orion
goes
now just 1,000 miles above Earth.
Towards the moon. As you heard, they're about 1,000 miles above Earth right now. This is the NASA broadcast official, and we should be hearing more on that. But for
just
right
over
now,
10 minutes until time of ignition for the trans-lunar injection burn that will send Orion beyond the moon and commit us to a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. Approaching 900 miles above Earth's surface, and at time of ignition, Orion will be just 115 miles above Earth, approximately 250,000 miles away from our lunar neighbor.
as you just heard, more information on the injection and flight mission day 10 landing in the Pacific Ocean. Let's continue to listen. More coverage shortly.
Quiet here in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as we approach the trans-lunar injection burn. Less than 9 minutes away from time of ignition of this 5-minute, 49-second burn. Again, the crew received the go for this configuration this morning to proceed with trans-lunar injection from the mission management team here at Johnson Space Center.
Integrity, roughly 1 minute left in our maneuver to burn attitude.
Okay, we show the same.
Orion now 650 miles away from Earth and continuing to be maneuvered to its burn attitude, or its proper positioning for that trans-lunar injection burn. All flight controllers here continuing to monitor their systems, and everyone remaining go for our journey to the moon.
We are currently waiting for final preparations for the trans-lunar injection for Artemis 2. This is CJD News. Stay tuned.
Integrity, Orion is in burn attitude.
Okay, we show the same.
Capcom Chris Birch confirming to the crew that Orion is in the proper attitude, the proper positioning for the Trans-Lunar injection burn, now less than 6 minutes and 20 seconds away. Orion is less than 500 miles from our Earth. Again, we will watch that tick down to 115 miles above the Earth's surface.
About 5 minutes estimate until the trans-lunar injection burn occurs.
Coming up on 1 day and 1 hour and 10 minutes since the launch of the Artemis II mission from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And we've just marked 5 minutes until the time of ignition for the trans-lunar injection burn, which will send us to the moon. Our crew, Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Cook, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen are all aboard the spacecraft, which is properly configured for the burn. This commits us to leaving Earth orbit and moving beyond the moon. It also is our deorbit burn and commits us to coming home, splashing down in the Pacific Ocean on flight day 10. The spacecraft is in the proper attitude, the proper configuration, with its solar array wings swept up toward the spacecraft, allowing the orbital maneuvering system engine, which will conduct the burn to prevent it from imparting any loads on those solar array wings. This will be a 5 minute and 49 second burn, at which point Orion will be just 115 miles above Earth. It remains quiet here in Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as teams continue to monitor their systems. Everything's still looking good, and everyone go for trans-lunar injection.
As you heard, everyone is go for the injection. Once again, it is a go for the lunar injection. Stay tuned with us. We will be right back.
Three minutes now until the time of ignition for the trans-lunar injection burn. Orion now 190 miles above Earth's surface, 248,600 miles away from the moon. Continuing to hear good reports from the flight controllers here, Artemis Mission Control in Houston.
AD News Live. Special report. Exclusive coverage. NASA Artemis II. What is going on? Here is CJ Kurz.
Good evening. Tonight is another special report. Trans-lunar injection bound to happen in about 2 minutes. Everyone is go on the poll. It has just been confirmed by NASA. Now we are going to now watch the poll officially happen. Trans-Lunar injection now happening. This is official broadcast from NASA. And now we are hearing confirmation that it will be underway shortly. This burn lasts approximately 5 to 7 minutes and must be precisely controlled and will be by the
Orion just
astronauts.
130 miles above planet Earth. As we mark 1 minute until the time of ignition of the Trans-Lunar injection burn, correction to an earlier report, that will be a 5 minute and 50 second burn on the orbital maneuvering services engine.
Just confirmed 5 minutes and 50 seconds for the injection burn to occur.
Mission control is go. The crew is go. You're getting a live view from Orion now of Earth.
As you just heard, the mission control is go. Everyone is go. Approximately less than a minute remaining. If you hear another voice, that is the official NASA broadcast that we are currently listening from. We are currently just waiting for the trans-lunar injection to occur.
10 seconds until trans-lunar injection burn start.
10 seconds, NASA will officially be taking over. It appears we have some camera glitches.
Good engine, good control.
Now we see the Houston Control Center.
At MET, mission elapsed time of 1 day, 1 hour, and 14 minutes into the Artemis 2 mission. As Orion was flying 115 statute miles above Earth and 247,600 miles away from the moon, we have the start of the trans-lunar injection burn that will send the crew around the moon, the first humans to do so in over 50 years.
As you heard, right now, the trans-lunar injection burn is happening.
Again, this will be a 5 minute and 50 second burn on the orbital maneuvering service engine, part of the European service module. Continuing to hear good calls here from Prop in Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas.
Integrity looking good.
Integrity copies.
As you see
Velocity
now.
of the spacecraft ticking up, now over 23,900 miles per hour.
As you see the Orion camera.
Two minutes into this 5 minute and 50 second burn. Continuing to get good calls here in Mission Control Houston from all flight controllers.
Integrity, we copy the enabled caution, no crew action.
Okay, integrity copies.
The crew did receive a caution on their screen and have no action at this time. We continue to burn the trans-lunar injection burn.
Integrity, similar caution, no crew action.
Integrity copies.
Over 3 minutes now into the Trans-Lunar injection burn. These live views coming from Orion as it looks back on Earth, leaving high Earth orbit and beginning its journey to the moon. We are now 230 miles above Earth, 246,500 miles away from the moon.
As you just heard, they are currently doing the injection burn.
Again, this burn started on time, MET, mission elapsed time, 1 day, 1 hour, and 14 minutes. We are targeting a 5-minute and 50-second burn. We've just hit the 4-minute mark into the burn. Quiet here in Mission Control Houston as flight controllers continue monitoring all systems. Everything looking good. We have 1 minute left in the Trans-Lunar injection burn. Everything continuing to look good. Again, these live views coming to you from Orion as it looks back on Earth and begins its journey to the moon. And this, a live look inside Mission Control Houston. Flight Director Jeff Radigan monitoring all of the Orbit 1 teams. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman has also joined us in the room to monitor the Trans-Lunar injection burn. We have less than 20 seconds left of this burn. This is the final major burn for the mission because this also serves as our deorbit burn.
As you see on your screen, Mission Control.
Integrity looks like a good burn. We're confirming.
And the live Orion space view be switched simultaneously. And you also hear radio
Confirmation
chatter
from teams here on the ground to the Artemis 2 crew aboard Orion. We have Trans-Lunar injection burn cutoff and early reports that it was a very good burn. Orion now 520 miles away from Earth. Just 5 minutes ago, we were only 115 miles above Earth's surface. That distance will continue to increase as we are now on a trajectory to fly around the moon for the first time in over 50 years.
as you hear that the burn is now complete. We are now farther from Earth, closer to the moon. We will continue to monitor this closely, but for the CJD News special report, for the video version, it has now been concluded. Once again, this has been a CJD News special report. We will always be here for you. Have a great night.
Live views from the Orion spacecraft as it looks back on Earth following completion of the Trans-Lunar injection burn, the burn that commits us to flying around the moon. It also commits us to a return to our home planet on Flight Day 10 and a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. But for now, these views of Earth as Orion starts its journey. This is Artemis Mission Control. 1 day, 1 hour, and 24 minutes since liftoff of Artemis 2. We have just completed the Trans-Lunar injection burn. Preliminary reports of a good burn. Again, this commits us to flying by the moon and coming back home on flight day 10. We're approaching 1,000 miles away from Earth. Just 10 minutes ago, we were 115 miles above Earth's surface. Since launch, Orion has been in a high Earth orbit. This allowed the teams to check all systems aboard the spacecraft and gain that confidence that for this first flight of humans aboard Orion, we were go for Trans-Lunar injection and a flight to the moon. That go that came this morning from the mission management team and later this afternoon from the flight control team in Houston. Crew reported that they were go as well, and now we are going.
I do also have some news. NASA briefing to be expected in 30 minutes.
On all systems aboard Orion.
And Houston Integrity, we just wanted to share a little bit of the sentiment up here as we came around the planet, and we're zooming over just 100 nautical miles above it if you got a moment.
Please, Jeremy, we are all ears.
Well, with that successful TLI, the crew's feeling pretty good up here on our way to the moon, and we just wanted to communicate to everyone around the planet who's worked to make Artemis possible that we firmly felt the power of your perseverance during every second of that burn. Humanity has once again shown what we are capable of, and it's your hopes for the future that carry us now on this journey around the moon.
All right, so while waiting for the NASA briefing, let's go over what Artemis 3, 4, and 5 will be. Now, Artemis 3 will be the first human landing on the moon in more than 50 years. We have more briefing.
Space Agency astronaut and mission specialist on Artemis 2, Jeremy Hansen. It's his first time to space, and it's the first flight of a Canadian to the moon. Hugs there at the Capcom console from NASA astronaut and Capcom, or capsule communicator, Chris Birch, with Artemis 2 backup and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jenny Gibbons. We're now over 1,000.
Integrity, 2 minutes until a TDRS West to TDRS East handover.
Integrity copies.
Now over 1,500 miles away from our planet, that distance continuing to increase. You can keep track of Orion's distance from the Earth and to the moon at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track-Artemis. We are currently 242,800 miles away from the moon and continuing to get closer. We will do so until flight day 6 when we make our closest approach during the lunar flyby. This view coming from Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas, where the Orbit 1 flight control team is on console. Team members continue monitoring the flight of Orion and the systems aboard the spacecraft. Coming coming up on 1 day, 1 hour, and 30 minutes since the launch of Orion.
As you see the mission control views as they are currently viewing Orion tracking. So you can see it's a lot of people, a lot of monitors. I even see one signed out of Windows. A NASA briefing is to be expected 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We will enter full special report mode then. But right now, we are just watching the NASA broadcast for any new updates and what we should expect. Right now, we are just getting a live view of the control room, and it is not capturing this, but a high-pitched noise is also being played.
Houston, integrity, our HC stow is complete.
As you hear radio chatter about the trans injection burn that just happened. Seems like the control room has been happy about this, because this means that it is officially...
We recently heard a call that the...
Integrity, we copied. RHC stow is complete on Tidris East.
As you just heard the
Great,
NASA.
com check.
More radio chatter. Right now we are just getting views of the control room. We may switch to the Orion camera soon.
Houston, integrity, we have lost DU2. It appears it may be power cycling with a DAC message of DU2 comm fail.
As you heard, they may have lost something DU2 related. We are not sure what that is, but we will look more into it.
Integrity, we copy. We saw that enunciated caution, toggle in and out of alarm. Your go to try and power it up.
And Houston, it was in a power cycle after going down, and it has come back up. We are going to go ahead and understand the prop cautions are no action. They are recurring and going away a few seconds later. We'll stand by for any other troubleshooting words on DU2, but so far it looks like it's nominal.
As you just heard, phenomenal progress so far. Seems like they...
Thanks, Christina. Good news on DU2. No further actions for you on DU2 reconfig. We'll do any other backside stuff on the ground, and we are taking a look at that prop caution as well.
As you hear more radio chatter, it seems like the issue that they were having...
Copy all, and copy also the good comm check on Tidris.
...has been fixed. Waiting for NASA broadcast to be continued.
Yes, Christina, good comm check on Tidris East. And to let you know, we are complete with our post-burn reconfig.
Copy all.
Few different communications with the crew there coming from Capcom Chris Birch. We heard the crew report that they were having an issue with their DU. That's the display unit. There are 3 display units inside Orion. It sounds like one of those is rebooting and powering back up. There were also some propulsion cautions that are being cleared.
As you just heard.
Additionally, we are still on the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System, or TDRS, and have handed over to TDRS East, confirming that we had a good voice check on TDRS. We won't be on TDRS for long. We will be switching back to the Deep Space Network as we continue to increase our distance from Earth, now 2,780 miles away from our home planet.
As you heard, 2,780 miles away from Earth. Earlier, we heard a little over 500 miles, but that was about 10 minutes ago, meaning that we have moved 1,500 miles farther in a matter of 10 minutes, meaning the injection burn is going well, and we are officially headed towards the moon.
Over 3,000 miles away from Earth now.
Integrity, we are maneuvering to the Earth viewing attitude.
Copy and thank you.
Orion is now being maneuvered into an attitude to allow the crew to be able to see the Earth as they depart it. Again, we are rapidly leaving our home planet and growing closer to the moon, now 240,300 miles away from our lunar neighbor. In about 5 minutes, we will transition from the Tracking Data Relay Satellite System as our primary method to communicate with the crew over to the Deep Space Network. They'll remain on the Deep Space Network all the way around the moon and until they return to Earth.
Integrity, we have completed the cleanup steps from our leak suspected warning that has cleared the board. We've reset FITR, and so now we'll be able to detect any changes per our nominal config.
That's great news, Houston. Thank you.
Capcom capsule communicator NASA astronaut Chris Birch calling up to the crew aboard Orion, also known as Integrity. There was a leak warning that popped up just before we got into Trans-Lunar injection burn. However, it was quickly determined that this was due to the air recirculation system being transitioned into a different state. All teams remained go for a Trans-Lunar injection as we continued to get good readings inside the cabin, and that warning has since been cleared.
Integrity, 2 minutes to TDRS East to DSN handover.
See you on the other side.
Standing by for TDRS to Deep Space Network handover. We're now handing over to the Deep Space Network and expect to hear some comm checks once the crew is on the other side.
Integrity, Houston, comm check on OE1 on DSN Madrid.
We have you loud and clear.
Copy, we have you the same.
And we are getting just a beautiful view of the dark side of the Earth right now, lit by the moon. Phenomenal.
That sounds amazing. We hope you're taking some pictures for us.
Yeah, none of us can get to lunch because we're glued to the window. We're taking pictures. Reed said he just can't take it anymore.
That tracks. Thanks, Integrity.
We have good communication checks on the Deep Space Network with the crew aboard Orion. Commander Reed Wiseman, Pilot Victor Glover, Mission Specialist Christina Cook, and Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen, having recently completed the Trans-Lunar injection burn, are now on their way to the moon. The Orion spacecraft was oriented so that they would be able to see out the windows as they departed Earth. We are now 4,687 miles away from our home planet, a number that's continuing to grow and will do so until we fly by the moon on flight day 6. The crew reports beautiful views of Earth as they fly by the dark side, as referred to by Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen. They are taking photos that we will expect to see downlinked later on and look forward to sharing.
About 7 minutes away from the NASA briefing. Stay tuned for more of the
30
NASA
minutes
briefing.
since the start of the trans-lunar injection burn. Again, that was a 5-minute and 50-second burn using the Orbital Maneuvering Service Engine on the European Service Module. This was the burn that committed us to flying by the moon and returning home to Earth on flight day 10. We are now over 5,430 miles away from Earth. At the time of the burn, we were just 115 miles above our home planet. We're 237,000 miles from the moon. This view inside Mission Control Houston as teams continue to monitor the systems aboard Orion. Everything looking great after that trans-lunar injection burn. Orion is also back on the Deep Space Network, which allows us to communicate with the crew as they travel farther away from our home planet. The crew is also in their timelined midday meal, but as we heard from mission specialist Jeremy Hansen, they are all glued to the windows, getting some views of Earth as they depart.
We temporarily
This view
removed.
of visualization of Orion.
We
You can
temporarily.
access this at any time by visiting nasa.gov/track Artemis. This is called ARROW, the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website. This is live throughout the mission and allows you to see just how far we are from Earth and close we are to the moon.
I have
It's now
temporarily
been
removed.
1 day, 1 hour and 50 minutes since liftoff of the Artemis II mission.
I've removed the bottom bar so that way you can see the stats. About 6,000 miles away from Earth and about 236,000 miles to go until you get to the moon. About 4 minutes until the Artemis II daily news briefing. Stay tuned for that. This is CJD News. We will continue covering this as it goes. Back to NASA.
This is Artemis Mission Control here at Johnson Space Center in Houston. We are on our way to the moon after a successful trans-lunar injection burn. We are expecting a news conference this evening to discuss the status of the mission at this point, the trans-lunar injection burn itself. That's slated to begin at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. It may get a bit of a delayed start.
Integrity, for your information, the PCL pointer is set to slot 2 for post-TLI.
Okay, copy. Slot 2 on our way.
Again, as I was mentioning, we are expecting the news conference to start momentarily. If you're watching on YouTube, that news conference will air on this channel and you don't need to go anywhere. We will have that available as soon as it begins. In the meantime, Orion continues to increase its distance from Earth, now approaching 7,000 miles away from the planet. We've also gotten much closer to the moon. Just about 15 minutes ago, we were 240,000 miles away from our lunar neighbor, and now we are approaching 235,000 miles away. This is Artemis Mission Control. We are standing by for the beginning of today's press conference about the status of the mission and the trans-lunar injection burn. Completed that 5-minute and 50-second burn. Right on time and put us in the proper position to fly by the moon on flight day 6 and return to Earth on flight day 10. This is Artemis Mission Control at Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Again, we had a successful trans-lunar injection burn that commits us to flying around the moon and coming home. Our crew of 4 aboard Orion in their midday meal. And here on Earth, we are standing by for the start of our news conference about the status of the mission. If you're watching on NASA's YouTube, you don't need to go anywhere. We're going to bring that to you right here, and we'll be here in Artemis Mission Control.
The Artemis 2 mission is a test mission of the Orion space capsule.
Artemis 2 will be the first time we put humans on this rocket.
We're going back to the moon because it's the next step in our journey to Mars.
We were always going to the moon.
Pushing ourselves to explore is just core to who we are. That's a part of being a human.
And liftoff.
We shall return.
Continuing to test out every bit of Orion.
Coming back to Earth, 7 miles a second.
When humanity sets big goals, we can bring together genius from around the world.
You have the best people on planet Earth putting this vehicle together.
That's what's up.
To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery.
And here we go.
Good evening and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, and welcome to our Artemis 2 status update. I'm Rachel Kraft with NASA Communications, and I'm joined by several NASA managers this evening to talk about our recent trans-lunar injection burn to send 4 astronauts on the Artemis 2 mission.
Welcome to the CJD News special report. I am CJ, your anchor tonight. We are currently watching the NASA currently brief on Artemis 2 on how the injection went. Let's listen in.
Remarks and then take questions both from reporters here in the room and on the phone. And those of you who are joining us by phone can press *1 to get into the question queue. And with that, we'll start with Lori.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to be able to tell you that for the first time since 1972, during Apollo 17, human beings have left Earth orbit. With Artemis 2's successful 5-minute and 50-second trans-lunar injection burn this evening, our 4 crew members, NASA astronauts Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, are now on their trajectory toward the moon. The burn was executed by our flight operations team here in Houston, and it was flawless. The burn was the last major firing of this mission. From this point forward, the laws of orbital mechanics are going to carry our crew to the moon, around the far side, and back to Earth. Our crew is healthy, and our spacecraft is performing really well. After we've had a series of checkouts since launch, and again, everything really performing pretty well. And we are on the path that we designed for this mission. But just a reminder, again, you can hear us keep saying it over and over again, this is still a test flight. We are getting, and we're going to continue to get, lots of new data every day, important information as we continue learning how we're going to operate this Orion spacecraft in the actual space environment. And I'll tell you, we're already learning a lot as we go. We've encountered several things along the way. We're not really tracking anything right now that's of concern, but anything that we've encountered since we've launched was brought to our mission management team today and discussed, and the satisfactory path forward on every case, and a unanimous decision to proceed forward with the go for the trans-lunar injection burn. So you'll hear a little bit more about some of that here in a minute, all the things that we've been doing. As a reminder, we got 8 days of work ahead, and we intend to learn as much as we can, everything that we can that this vehicle can teach us. And with that, let's see, before I do that, we had a couple images we wanted to share. Let's see if we can pull some of those up. I wanted to share one of my favorite images. This one I saw last night. Actually, I was getting onto the plane to fly here from Florida. This one popped up, and I just absolutely love this one. Looking out the window, you can see solar array wing there and the OMS engine from the Orion spacecraft, and then you can see Earth's crescent in the back. I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous with our crew members being able to see out the window there and get that photo. It's just absolutely beautiful. And then the second image I wanted to show you, you'll hear a lot more from Howard about the proximity operations demonstration that was conducted yesterday evening. And let's see, is that one going to come up?
It's coming back.
It's coming back. There it is. And in this image, you can see Victor Glover on the left there. He was using the manual controls to maneuver the spacecraft. And then Reed Wiseman on the right there was calling out the commands. So it was really, I hope some of you got a chance to watch that. I was riveted. It was absolutely spectacular to hear Victor's narration of the whole activity. So super cool. So with all of that, I am going to hand it over to Judd, and he can talk us through some of the technical details about the flight so far.
All right. Thanks, Lori. It's been a great couple of days to be in the space business. Yesterday, SLS put us right on the money during ascent. We started with some checkouts by the crew from both the water dispenser and the toilet. Those were successful. And ICPS then burned us with our perigee raise maneuver, got us in a stable orbit. We did have a brief comm outage that was due to a ground issue that we have now rectified, and we understand that's not going to be a problem henceforth. And then, let's see, the ICPS then gave us a great amount of energy, put us in high Earth orbit with the apogee raise burn, again, right down the money. So really happy with that burn. After that, as Lori mentioned, Victor did the ProxOps demonstration, gave us a lot of great feedback on how the vehicle responds in preparation for future rendezvous operations. So very valuable data. We also checked out all of the carbon dioxide scrubbers, all 3 beds successfully checked out, and CO2 is doing great in the vehicle. We did, once we were done with the ProxOps demonstration, the ICPS on its own did the automatic deploy of the 4 CubeSats, and then also ICPS did its disposal burn, and so that all went well. In the middle of the crew sleep, we also had them wake up and do the perigee raise burn, and that was 100% successful. Got us again back into a stable orbit, raised our perigee to about 100 nautical miles. So we're happy with that performance as well. This morning, the crew woke up. They had a conference with the flight control team and our lead flight director, Jeff Radigan. Went over some details of anything that they had, changes to the timeline, which were minimal. They did an exercise test of the flywheel. That was successful. Reed reported that it was exactly like training. His arms were really tired, and he got a great cardio workout. So we took some samples of what the carbon dioxide was while we were doing exercise, and that was all great as well. And of course, just a little under an hour ago, we did the Trans-Lunar injection, which sets us up for the free return around the moon and also for splashdown in San Diego. So with that, I'll hand it over to Howard to give you some more details on the Orion.
All right, thanks, Judd. Really excited to be here. Wow, what a great 2 days, huh? I haven't slept, I don't think, very much over the last 24 hours, just following all the things that have happened for the Orion spaceship. We had a perfect ride uphill, got into orbit, spent a good day, just checking out systems. And we're getting ready for TLI that Lori talked about, and a successful TLI and a really great precision burn that we just had. But I'll talk about the things that we accomplished yesterday. Yesterday, as you know, we did a proximity operations demonstration with the centerline camera and with the spacecraft. I call it test driving the car. It's been an awesome event for all the engineers and the team that's worked on it to hear Victor and Reed talk about our spaceship and the work that we put in to put into this capability for manual flying. I would say that, first of all, we accomplished all the test objectives that we set out for this proximity operations. We had 2 precision tests, and I'll describe a little bit about what those were. But I'll send with a picture first to show you and describe. This is a very close-in picture, these three pictures. On the, I guess, upper left of the picture is our centerline docking target right in the middle. It's a standoff cross that you'll see. It's a 2-foot wide target. This is the target that we're going to use for future missions. So this is the exact flight configuration that we would use. So it was really important that we got that on the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. So we were able to get that on that stage, and what we do, as I describe it, is as we separate from the ICPS, we do a backflip, 5 degrees per second, and we back away all the way as far in this demonstration was about 400 feet. And that back away scenario, that allows us to have a good standoff understanding. We're pretty far away, not this picture, but I'll talk a little bit about where this is going. Then we start doing what I call course manual piloting. And this allows, and you might have heard this, what Victor was doing was basically moving side to side with the spaceship, up and down, and then doing the rotation pitch, roll, yaw, making sure that the response from the spacecraft and the performance is what he's seeing. And the reason it's course is because you're so far away at 400 feet that you want to make sure you have big maneuvers so you can see the target going out of your field of view a little bit, okay? So that's what we did at the initial part, and then we slowly started coming in and approaching the vehicle. And that picture that you see in the upper left side is almost to 33 feet. It's about 40 feet away, I think. And that's where we will do what I call fine manual piloting. So we're just doing a little bit of the same thing, side to side, up and down, doing the pitch, roll, and yaw maneuver and handling. And you heard that if you watched closely, and some great commentary. Especially, it was heartwarming to hear. I know I talked to some of our team members today, you know, to hear that how well their baby worked, you know, operating precisely. That is exactly what we wanted to do, holding the attitude and being able to maneuver very well and described, I think, just very excitedly by Reed and both Reed and Reed and Victor. I think it's really a great a moment for all of us who have been working in this arena to get this demonstration off. And of course, that wasn't the end of it. We did back away to about 65 feet, and we let the ICPS do a maneuver, and then we had another target, what we were calling this two-dimensional target. So it didn't have a standoff cross like we did on the ICPS nose. What we did was add a good 2-degree target or two-dimensional target on the spacecraft, on the ICPS, and then we did the same maneuver, but a little different. This maneuver was what we call 6-degree of freedom maneuver, where we were tracking and also maneuvering by rotating as well. So you're translating and rotating at the same time, and that allowed you to have a different characteristic of the vehicle performance in a manual piloting approach. And we were also able to go to this 33-foot range. So really important demonstration of both the fine and coarse handling of the spaceship for future missions as we go forward. And that was something that we wanted to make sure we brought down some risk. And you saw the images of the centerline camera, and performance was outstanding. And of course, the crew was outstanding. They did a terrific job. I actually flew the simulator. I did not qualify for this mission, unfortunately. So I definitely wasn't ready for this kind of mission, but Victor just did terrific and followed everything. And I saw the track today in terms of our predictions, and I got to give kudos to him. He followed it right along, and it was a really great opportunity to demonstrate our capability. So that was a really important demonstration and test of our rendezvous and prox ops capabilities that we're going to need for the future. But also in that 24-hour period, we had to obviously demonstrate our readiness for trans-lunar injection. We were able to really track a lot of the subsystems that we've learned from on Artemis 1, but also the most important subsystem when we put humans on board is the life support system. And I'm happy to report that the performance of the CO2 scrubber, the ability to distribute water, control the temperature inside the cabin is exactly as we predicted. and in some cases better. And so that was really great. And of course, across all the other subsystems that we demonstrated in Artemis 1, like power generation, was better than predicted also. Over 13 kilowatts of power generation, and our ability to control, like I said, the inside cabin and control the temperature across all the parts of the spacecraft was right on and nominal. So that was really good to see. And of course, we were ready to execute the TLI burn today, and our guidance navigation control system was ready to go. And demonstrated through this burn its ability to handle this type of burn and the precision that's needed to take us to the moon and come back into Earth's atmosphere. So really great overall demonstration of the proxops, really great demonstration of the core subsystems that we have on board the spaceship that's required to execute the rest of the days of this Artemis 2 mission. And finally, I would say that we had, I would say, really great opportunity to just understand our overall performance across all these subsystems and making sure that we're ready to commit the crew to a safe journey to the moon and back. And we demonstrated that over the last 24 hours. We were able to, as Lori said, have a mission management team review of that and determined that we were go for TLI. And I'm just really happy that we're headed to the moon.
You are currently listening to the NASA briefing on Artemis 2. Questions are now being taken.
Raise your hand if you're here. We'll have a mic coming around. And then if you are joining by phone, *1 can get you into the question queue. And we will begin in the room here. Let's come around with the mic here in the front. Yep.
Thank you very much. Tarek Malik with Space.com, and I think it's for Howard. You know, the TLI seemed to go quite well, although I guess there were some reports of a couple of caution alarms that the crew reported, and then the mission control said, you know, it was not to worry about. And I'm just curious what those alarms were, or those caution lights were, and you know how they were, I guess, set aside so quickly. Thanks.
Okay. I'll let Jed maybe give some highlights there.
Yeah, so about 15, 20 minutes before TLI, we had a couple of nominal reconfiguration changes of the atmosphere revitalization system, the cabin fans. And when we were moding those to a different mode, the fan speed change caused the cabin sensors to dip below the caution limit for just a bit. And of course, that rang an alarm that was a suspected cabin leak. That was a false indication. And so we quickly knew that there was no leak. We knew that there was just the sensors dipping low pretty quickly. Additionally, there were some RCS, reaction control system, SM manifold messages that we had been seeing previously. Essentially, whenever we're using that system, there's a pressure sensor divergence. And we've seen that before, and so we knew exactly what those signatures were. So again, not an issue at all.
Eric.
Eric Berger, Ars Technica, and just congratulations. So far, it's been spectacular to behold all of this. I guess two questions for Howard. You know, first of all, quick question: were there any thruster issues during the Proxops demo? Any sort of outages or concerns with that regard? Did everything perform nominally? And then does the performance in Victor's piloting during that exercise give you confidence in Orion's handling for the maneuvers contemplated in Artemis 3 with one or two of the HLS?
Yeah, no issues with the thrusters. They performed nominally and the performance was excellent. Relative to future confidence, this gives us a lot of confidence in terms of close in. I've talked previously about being on the docking axis. It's very important for the crew because unlike Orbiter, where we were able to have situation awareness from the windows, when we approach closely, we are very dependent on the cameras and the LiDAR that will be on Artemis 3 and above for our relative navigation. And so this was a really good exercise of that. And of course, hearing the crew in a preliminary way through verbally, but we'll look at the data very closely and get the post-flight report from them in detail. I think at first indication, that the vehicle performed better than obviously they expected. And I think, for us, it was really good understanding of how the human-in-the-loop part worked. We know precisely what our capabilities are when we have automated capability, but having a crew in the loop and demonstrating their capabilities and being able to hold and be able to execute a translational and rotational maneuvers and being able to do that precisely is really outstanding. And I look forward to them coming back home, telling us all the nuances. I'll be sitting in hours with them and questioning them on how they felt about it and what the responses were based on the pulses they put in. But yes, it's very, very heartwarming to hear that from the crew, and of course, even better to get the technical data and play that forward.
Go ahead.
Mark Kirkman with NSF. This is probably for a combination of both Judd and Howard. Now that we're committed with TLI, during Trans-Lunar Coast, the attitude you're going to hold, what are the out-the-view windows for the crew? Are they going to be, what are they going to be able to see Earth with regard to Earth or the Moon? And also, prior to the flight, you were talking about, based on TOI, what they would get to see when they do the close observation. It was based on the sun angle of high, medium, or low. What did we end up getting based on the launch day and the TOI that we're in? And if you don't mind, just based on what he said, I'd like to follow up with Howard. It sounds like, based on what Ike said and you said, that the handling qualities, tight, deadbeat damping, that this is better than you predicted. Is that a true statement?
You want me to start first and talk about that? I would say that, predictions are hard. There's a human-in-the-loop kind of element, and we practice that. So I would say, yes, definitely maybe better than we anticipated in a lot of ways, because there's variations by which we go into space. On a closed-loop control system, for guidance, navigation, control, when you have an automated system, you know precisely and you predict exactly how the system will respond. The crew is well-trained, and Victor did exactly what he needed to do, and the spacecraft responded.
As far as where the vehicle will be pointed, most of the time we spend in a tail to sun attitude. So we take the back end of the vehicle, point it towards the sun, and so whatever the geometry is, that's what you get. We sometimes have the advantage when we have good power balance. We can move the solar arrays that have cameras on the end, and we can move those around and see what look back at the Earth or look forward at the Moon. Also on flight day 6, whenever we do the lunar closer approach, we'll change attitude, make sure that the crew has those views of the lunar surface. As far as the lighting of the Moon, this was a lower lighting day that we launched. I think it was in the 20 to 30%, 20% lit area. So we'll still get good shots from the crew. We'll still get great descriptions from their Mark I eyeballs. But we're going around the Moon, so that's the main thing, right?
Okay, we'll take 2 more on the end here, and then we'll go to the phone. So go ahead, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie Waddle, CNN. Quick question for Howard. I know Victor said that he was going to give the Cooper-Harper rating scales during the prox ops. Are you able to share those numbers? Just curious to know how it handled. And then also would love to just ask a general question about the crew, how they're adjusting to orbit. Specifically curious about the first-time flyer and whether there's any space adaptation syndrome without, invading privacy. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm sure we can share the Cooper-Harper handling qualities. We did assessments with the simulator, and we'll do it as part of this demonstration, and love to hear that feedback. I think we got some initial feedback, like I said, but look forward to that. Yeah, definitely. But I'll let Judd answer the other question about the crew.
As far as the crew members, they're doing great. There's no indication that they're having any problems at all. So I don't expect that they're having any problems.
Hi, Lauren Grush with Bloomberg. Thanks so much and congratulations again. I wanted to ask about the troubleshooting of the toilet that happened on that first day. Can you just explain to us what the issue was and how they fixed it? And on a priority scale, would you say this was a number 1 priority or a number 2?
So when we had always planned to wet the toilet with some water that we had pulled out of the PWD, the potable water dispenser, and it turns out, I guess, we didn't put enough in, and so the pump was not fully wetted, and so it has automatic fault detection in that if it's not fully wetted, it'll shut itself down. So once we figured out that we didn't put enough water in, we put more in there, made sure that it was essentially primed, the pump was primed, and then the toilet came right back up.
I will say that in addition, a good kind of byproduct of this, while we're working through those procedures, we were able to check out the secondary vent line for the urine as well. And so that was a good, that's an alternate path. If we could not go with the primary line, we were able to bend out on the secondary line, and we were able to demonstrate that. And we didn't demonstrate it today, the primary vent line through the working toilet. So I think both lines are working well, and really happy about that.
Yeah, I'll just add real quickly that I think this is a great example of some of the procedural things as we're learning to work and live in the Orion capsule. We've got real humans in there. They're trying to live and learn, and we're gonna learn things along the way. Oops, we need to do this. We need to prime it first. This is the kind of things we're gonna get.
All right, we'll take several questions from the phone now, and we'll start with Marcia Dunn from the Associated Press.
Oh yes, hi. Good evening. I have a question probably for you, Lori. Could you just or anybody really, could you talk about the stress level in mission control prior to the TLI burn? I mean, were you really sweating it there? And now that that's done, do you have any new revised numbers for the moon lunar flyby distance? Do you still think the Orion's going to go 4,000 miles past the moon before turning around, maybe closer to 5,000? Any new lunar distance numbers from today? Thanks.
Hey, Marcia, thanks for the questions. I'll let Judd speak to what the mood was like down in Mission Control. I was actually sitting up observing the room and listening in on the loops, and everything was seemed like it was going very smoothly. They always seem so calm and controlled down there in Mission Control. Up in the room where I was with several other folks, as soon as we counted down and we started that burn, we just sat in silence and watched the clock go and waited for that statement that said the burn was complete. And it was just wonderful to just sit there, watch, enjoy it, and say, we've done this. So it's a great accomplishment. We're really proud of all the teams that got us to this point. Let's see, the second question, about the distance. So the anticipated distance, I believe, was around 4,600 miles from the surface, is that right? And it's a good burn, so I'm anticipating we'll be pretty close to that, but I don't know that anyone's done the actual calculation yet.
Yeah, assuming that we had a nominal burn, which we did, the max distance that our folks calculated was 219,639 nautical miles max distance from the Earth.
Yeah, okay.
So, as far as the mood in Mission Control, these teams have done lots and lots of simulations, and so I would say they're consummate professionals. Everybody, even with the sensor problems that we had, able to do the TLI and get us through everything, perfectly. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's any stress level at all.
Yeah, maybe, Lori, I'll jump in on the mission evaluation room that supports the flight control team. I was in there with the team, and, we have high confidence in our main engine. We've operated several times on Artemis 1, and, of course, we operated the upper stage separation burn as well. And I'll just tell you, everybody was standing, not so much nervous, just excitement. And then in one of our conference rooms where we had a couple of G&C experts with us, we geeked out and talked about TGO, VGO, Lambda, Lambda dot, and teaching class on how these burns were calculated, what the guidance targets were, and it was really fun to listen to that while we waited for the TIG. So it was really fun.
All right, our next question on the phone line is from Andrea Leinfelder with the Houston Chronicle.
Hi. I have a question on the exercising. So I was watching the video when Reed was exercising, and I know Mission Control kind of started chuckling because you could see the movement. So I was wondering if you'd kind of quantify a little bit how much it was moving. I know it was expected, but I'm still curious to know how much. Also, just a technical question. Would you say that Orion was in high Earth orbit or low Earth orbit during the TLI burn, just because it seems so close to the Earth? Thanks.
Let me take that. Let's see, as far as the exercise, the flywheel machine, it's a little bit like a rowing machine. I think you saw that. I mean, are you asking, I didn't quite understand the question, like how much movement does the capsule do while we're doing the movement? Is that the question? Yeah, I don't think we saw anything that we didn't expect.
Yeah, you'll see some solar array dynamics, which is expected. But it didn't perturb any of our control where we've had to make any adjustment, big burns or anything like that to control the attitude is where you would hear or get affected by those dynamics. Of course, we'll look at the data. I wasn't sitting in front of the data console today, but I just saw it on the videos that were coming down, and we'll talk to the team, but we didn't expect anything different. I asked our guidance navigation guys if there was any issues, and they said nope, didn't see any issues relative to exercise. And then, of course, we'll always look at the data and go by that, but looks good so far.
Let's see, and the other question was, were we in a high Earth orbit when we did TLI? Yes, technically we were, but we were at the lowest part, perigee of the orbit, so we were about 100 nautical miles off the Earth's surface, traveling about 23,000 and change miles per hour. And so because we did the TLI burn, now that takes us out of the high Earth orbit and gets us on that free return trajectory to the side of the moon.
Okay, next up is Nell Greenfield-Boyce with NPR.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Thanks
Yes.
for having this briefing. I would appreciate hearing a little more about the water dispenser situation. It sounded like just before the burn, they were doing what they were calling like water ops, and they were bagging up water in plastic bags. Could you just go over exactly what the issues were with the dispenser and why it was decided to have backup water and how much water the astronauts actually bagged up? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So during ascent, so we have 4 water tanks in the Orion service module, and each one of those tanks has an isolation valve between them. The isolation valve between the middle 2 tanks failed closed during ascent, and so it essentially isolated 2 tanks on one side and 2 tanks on the other. Each end of those tanks goes to one of 2 different water dispensers, a primary and a secondary, so we have full access to all of the water. However, in an abundance of caution, we decided it probably good, just in case we have a subsequent failure of an isolation valve, to bag some water, and so that's exactly what we did. We're going to bag some water in the cabin and preserve that just in case we have a subsequent failure.
Okay, our next question is from Joey Roulette with Reuters.
Hey, thanks. I just wanted to clarify the predicted maximum distance from Earth. Did you say 219,000 miles? And is that based on, and that's based on the TLI burn that was just done today, right?
Those are predicts prior to us performing the TLI burn, so that assumed a perfect TLI burn, so I haven't gone and run those numbers again.
And just real quick, the reason I asked, of course, is because that's far below the record breaking for Apollo 13. Is that your guys' understanding, I guess?
That's in nautical miles. So the Apollo distance record in nautical miles was about 216,000 nautical miles.
Okay, our next question is from Jackie Mogensen with Scientific American.
Hi, thanks for this. I have a bit of a general question and then a specific one. The general one is, how do you feel like everything is it going to plan, and are there any concerns you're keeping an eye on at this point? And then more specifically, I was curious if you could tell us about what to expect from the first high-res images and video, as well as when we might see the solar eclipse. Thank you.
I think I'll take a stab. It's echoing in here, so it's kind of hard to hear the question. But I think the first one is how things are going. Is there anything we're tracking? And I'll just look over at my colleagues. But, things are going really well. I think we couldn't be more pleased with how well things are going. Right now, we're not tracking any issues of concern. As I said, we're learning from the spacecraft, but that's what we anticipate, and we're not tracking anything. We went straight into the TLI with absolute confidence that we can complete the rest of this mission as planned. I think the other part of the question had to do with some of the imaging and expectations for when we'll get some of those back, in particular the eclipse. I'm really excited about the eclipse that we're probably going to encounter now as part of this mission. I think the crew's excited about it as well. I know they did a little training to learn about what they're going to see. It'll be really cool when they're out and beyond the moon, be able to look back with the moon eclipsing the sun. They'll be able to see the sun's corona. That's kind of a cool, exciting thing to do. So they've been trained on it, and they're looking forward to it.
Okay. We'll come back here in the room for other questions. Let's start here in the second row.
Hi, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. There was a little bit of online chatter about the Outlook issues that were happening with Reed Wiseman. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what exactly was going on with that.
Yeah, this is not uncommon. We have this on station all the time. Sometimes Outlook has issues getting configured, especially when you don't have a network that's directly connected. And so essentially we just had to reload his files on Outlook, to get it working.
Okay, go ahead.
Richard Tu with the Post newspaper. A question for Howard. You talked earlier about a ground issue related to the communications problem. Can you explain that a little bit more? Was it literally like a loose screw, or was it something underground cabling, maybe a resistance issue? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Thank you.
Yeah, I can take that. So we have a processor at White Sands ground terminal. It's called a serial communication processor. In order to get return telemetry, it has to translate the radio messages to something that our front-end processors at MCC can understand. So that processor is supposed to be in a configuration for nominal S-band Orion telemetry. When we essentially found a bug that we didn't know was there before. So when we did our checkouts, part of our checkout is to put in a configuration for the emergency comm configuration. When we commanded it back to the nominal configuration, it showed that it had taken, but it did not actually. And so you basically had to go into low-level commanding to see what was the actual configuration and do that. So it's a software bug we now understand that we hadn't seen before, and so no issue with us going forward.
Okay, we'll go right here.
Hi, thanks for doing this. Beverly Casillas for Space Scout. So we talked a little bit about some of the communications anomalies and other kind of teething issues we saw on that first day of flight. And I was just curious, what would you say has been the biggest learning moment about the Orion spacecraft so far during the mission, and have there been any surprises? Thanks.
Yeah, I think the biggest learning is always first-time systems, and I always go to life support. Being able to control humidity and scrubbing CO2, which performance is really great. In fact, we're maybe becoming, we need a little bit more humidity. I think it's doing too well sometimes, but I think those are things that are, like Lori said, we're learning, we're adjusting how to operate the spaceship with actual people on board and that are actually putting out CO2 and breathing in oxygen. So I think this is one of the things that we've learned in that 24 hours. We're learning a lot. The trending data, the sensors we have on board in terms of accuracy, being able to track that very closely is something that we're going to learn. No surprises. We expect good performance from our subsystems, so we're very happy about that. And again, we knew that we would learn a lot. And the other thing we would learn a lot is what you guys were all referring to relative to caution warnings. I think we have thousands of caution warnings on board the spaceship, and it provides a lot of good information for the crew, but also we're learning about the boundaries of these caution warning parameters and whether they're really nuisances or whether they're real issues. And I think this is one of the things that we'll learn all the way along the mission as we utilize and learn more about the spacecraft and approach all these objectives we're trying to accomplish along the way.
Okay, right here.
Hi, T.G. Mascara with the Epoch Times. Thank you all so much, and congratulations again. My question for Lori, in terms of a little clarification on the timeline. With the eclipse, you said it'll be when they're behind the moon, so will that be on day 6? And also, is there any clarification on what part of the timeline we'll be having the ship-to-ship communication with the station?
That's definitely a question for Judd here. We'll let him, he's got the detailed timeline right in front of him.
Yes, it is flight day 6 that the crew will be behind the moon. Let's see, and your other question was?
The ship-to-ship.
Ship-to-ship comm. I think we were going to do that on flight day 8 or 9. I don't know where that ended up.
7, I believe.
Yeah, maybe it's on 7. Yep, it's flight day 7.
Okay, let's come here to the one with her hand up. Yes.
Hi, Katrina Miller for the New York Times. How fast will Orion move as it heads to the moon, like the maximum speed? And have the crew members been able to check in with their families yet, or when will this happen?
Okay, so it changes speed as it goes around in orbit. The maximum speed we just experienced at TLI, which was, we started off at 23,660 miles per hour. We added about 867 miles per hour, so that's 24,500, something like that, 24,500 miles an hour. And then as we get closer to the moon will be our lowest speed around the apogee, which is around, I think, 1,300 foot per second, which I'm not going to do math in public on how many miles per hour that is. But then once we come back to Earth, it gets around that same speed, around 25,000 miles per hour as we get to entering our interface.
And have they talked to their family?
Okay. Let's actually come over to this side here in the middle. Oh, and there was the question, additional question about if the crew has spoken with family yet.
Yeah, I don't believe they haven't had time to talk to their families yet. They've been really busy, so we'll make time for that now that we're past TLI.
Robert Coppinger, British Interplanetary Society Spaceflight Magazine. The RCS thrusters on the service module, are they European technology or American technology? And Administrator Isaacman's distance record from one of his 2 space flights, when does Integrity beat that?
Well, I would say the RCS, or Reaction Control System, if you're asking that is a European-built system. I don't know about Administrator Isaacman's distance, so I can't comment on that.
I suspect we've already broken that.
I thought we broke it when we went into the high Earth orbit.
But
when we got out to apogee, we would have already exceeded that.
Okay, was there another question? Second row here, yes. And then we'll go back to a few more from the phone.
Hi, JJ Love with Tech Talk Media. Thanks for taking my question. The viewers of our Inside NASA Innovation series are eager to understand the broader human impact of this mission. So looking beyond the boundaries of space exploration itself, which industries here on Earth stand to benefit most from what you're discovering up there? And what is being learned in the mission that will tangibly improve life for people down here?
Oh, those are some good questions. I think from the industry standpoint, I think there's a whole range of things that we're going to benefit. Number one, just thinking basically just in our production capabilities within the U.S. and around the world. But I feel certain we're going to be pushing boundaries of technologies as well, not just in the systems that we're flying on the rockets, but even in some of the things we're testing out inside the crew cabin for the crew to use, of the cutting edge of technology. So a lot of amazing things there. And then what was the second part of your question? Oh, help life on Earth. It's always a wonderful question, and I really feel like the exploration that we do is just inspirational for everyone here on Earth, hopefully inspiring our young people around the world, the Artemis generation that's growing up now to want to grow and achieve and to learn and to start trying to think through where they're going to dedicate their talents as they get older and learn the different skills that we need to cut the edge of new technologies into the future.
Okay, we'll go back to the phone for several questions. Our next one is from Robert Perlman with collectspace.com.
Hi. The quote, "You'll go for TLI," is one of those iconic quotes from the Apollo years that just has held the test of time. But Michael Collins was the astronaut who coined it, and he later said that maybe he should have picked out something more momentous. I'm wondering, now having gone through a TLI, if you think that it speaks to, or not, does it hide how this burn is different from all other burns, that this is the one that you're committing to leave Earth's orbit and go to the moon, and there's no turning back. I know that you said that there wasn't extra stress, that you had practiced this over and over, but was there any moment that you actually, gulped hard that, yeah, we're going to the moon?
So the question, it was a little bit garbled. I think it was about the TLI burn and that burn being perhaps special in the minds of the team. Robert, may need to get you to say some of that again. I think we captured that, though.
Yeah, do you think the public, when they hear go for TLI, or when we speak about it normally during a press conference like this, does it really convey how the momentous moment that it actually captures?
So I think what he's getting at here with the question, help me if I get this incorrectly, but as we're executing on that 5-minute burn, is there a point at which our teams, as we're executing, kind of absorb the impact of just how important this burn is, and how, if we don't get it all the way through the burn, then what would happen?
If you are just tuning in, we are listening to NASA take questions, and it is currently a NASA briefing on the launch, how it went, and the burn.
Professionally, probably save the reflection for after our shift, and certainly that reflection, I suspect everybody understands that this is a once in a lifetime moment.
All right, our next question on the phone is from Christopher Mick with the Hudson Star Observer.
Thank you for taking the question and for all your time tonight. Another amazing day here in the mission. I just want to ask, I think these would be for Jed and Howard. I was wondering, the crew sounded very busy in the time I was hearing the loops today, and I was just wondering on the astronauts' kind of individual task timelines, if they're kind of on schedule for that or falling behind at all or skipping some things. And then maybe to Howard, if there was any time for Earth observation photography, if there's any feedback from the crew on how things were going shooting through the Orion windows.
So I would say there were, as far as the timeline goes, there were a few things that the crew was not able to get to today and yesterday, and that's fine. We knew this was going to be a very, very packed first 2 days, and now once we've got past TLI, we've got lots more time to do things, and observation certainly is one of those things that the crew absolutely will be doing during their time, and they've got plenty of time now to reflect and do those other operations.
Yeah, I'll say that although, like Judd said, maybe a few things didn't get done in the schedule that was planned that could be made up, the real important one for me at least was this ProxOps demonstration. I think we budgeted around 71 minutes. The crew finished in 65. And that was awesome because, like I said earlier, we were able to accomplish all our objectives and within that time period because we were having to exit and leave the ICPS distance and move on towards the orbit. So having that done and getting all those objectives accomplished was very significant, and I'm really happy to do it with some margin.
Okay, our next question is from David Denault with About Space Today News.
Good evening. I have a question. Has there been a formal report issued yet on the possible damages caused by Artemis 2 compared to Artemis 1? I understand that it caused some damage to the elevators, and it also burnt through the surface area, scorching it. Has there any report issued on that as yet?
So this is a question related to the potential damage to the Mobile Launcher 1, where we launched yesterday. We've talked many times about the ruggedization that we did to the Mobile Launcher following the Artemis 1 mission. And what I can tell you is that our initial assessment is showing that most of the damage is really largely cosmetic. Really, overall, everything's looking pretty good, especially compared to Artemis 1. We know we're going to have some repairs that we'll need to do, but those repairs, the repairs that we made following Artemis 1 largely worked, so that's a good thing. We are in the process of doing an in-depth assessment of what kind of damage was received there. We do know that there were some bolts, some latching bolts that perhaps didn't hold as anticipated, and there was some, I believe, some issues down in the